Hello everyone, he looks happy without you, doesn't he? You see him smiling in pictures, laughing with friends, posting stories like nothing ever happened. But what you don't see are the long nights where he stares at the ceiling, replaying every memory in his head. The world sees his smile, but his pillow knows the truth. You think he's moved on, that he's fine, that maybe he never cared as much as you did. But deep down, he's fighting a war no one can see. He's losing sleep every single night, wondering if letting you go was strength or the biggest mistake of his life. Sometimes people act happy not because they are, but because they're tired of explaining their pain. They hide behind laughter, hoping it will drown out the echoes of what once was. He scrolls through old messages, revisits places where your laughter still lingers in the air, and wonders if you ever think of him too. Pain doesn't always scream. Sometimes it sits quietly in the corner of the heart, heavy, invisible, and constant. He tells himself he's fine, but his silence betrays him. Every sleepless night whispers your name, and every sunrise reminds him you're not there. So yes, he looks happy without you, but every night he pays the price for that fake smile with pieces of his peace and hours of his sleep. The truth is, moving on doesn't happen when you stop missing someone. It happens when you finally accept that missing them won't change anything anymore. He looks happy, doesn't he? Smiling in every picture, laughing in every video, acting like life is lighter without you. But what you see is not always what's real, because people have mastered the art of hiding pain behind perfectly crafted moments. We live in a world where a smile can be a disguise, where laughter can cover heartbreak, and where pretending becomes a way to survive. You see, the surface can lie. It's easy to look fine when the camera is on, but it's what happens in the quiet that reveals the truth. When the phone is put down, when the lights go out, and there's no one left to impress, that's when reality speaks. That's when the memories return, the what-ifs whisper, and the truth hits hardest. He looks like he's moved on, like he's found peace without you, but deep down there's a storm raging that no one can see. His days may look bright, but his nights tell a different story, a story of silence, sleeplessness, and questions that never find answers. People can post happiness, they can wear confidence, they can even laugh like nothing ever happened, but inside, they're fighting battles that never make it to the surface. He hides it well, maybe too well, because the world believes he's okay. But if you listen closely, if you look beyond the mask, you'll realize that sometimes the happiest faces belong to the most broken hearts. He's not as free as he seems. He's not as over it as he looks. He's just become good at pretending because pretending is easier than explaining the pain no one would truly understand. It's so easy to believe that a post tells the truth. A new picture, a caption full of confidence, a story full of energy, it all looks like happiness, doesn't it? But the thing about social media is that it shows everything except reality. It captures moments, not emotions. It hides pain behind filters, and it turns emptiness into illusion. You might see him smiling in a photo, standing with friends, maybe even joking like nothing ever happened. But what you can't see is the silence that follows when the camera stops recording, when the laughter fades, and all that's left is a heartbeat that still remembers. He scrolls through his own profile, convincing himself that if the world believes he's fine, maybe one day he will be. But no matter how perfect the post looks, no matter how many likes it gets, there's a truth that lingers behind every upload. He's tired, because pretending is exhausting. Smiling when your heart is breaking drains the soul. Each "I'm good" he gives the world is just another layer over a wound that hasn't healed. The nights are long, the thoughts are loud, the bed feels too big, and no matter how much he tries to fill the space with distractions, it's the quiet moments that betray him, the 2 a.m. hours when even sleep refuses to come close. Social media doesn't show the nights he lies awake, staring at the ceiling, wondering how something that once felt so right could now feel so far away. It doesn't show the tears he hides, or the way he replays every conversation, every mistake, every goodbye. It only shows what he wants you to see, a version of himself that looks strong, even when he's falling apart inside. He wants to look like he's winning, but deep down, he's just surviving. And in that survival, he's losing himself piece by piece, night after night, behind the very smile the world believes is real. He's quiet now. You don't hear from him anymore. No messages, no late night calls, no signs that he still cares, and maybe you've started to believe he's healed. But silence doesn't always mean peace. Sometimes silence is just the noise that pride makes when it's trying to protect what's left of a broken heart. He tells himself he's done talking about it, done remembering, done missing you. But the truth is, he's just tired of explaining pain that no one would understand. He's learned to keep it inside, to smile at people who ask how he's doing, to nod when they say you've moved on. Even when his heart whispers otherwise, healing in silence is the kind of pain that doesn't scream. It hums softly, constantly, endlessly. It's the ache that shows up when he least expects it. A song that plays in the background, a scent that drifts by, a place that still remembers both of you. He doesn't say it out loud, but it hits him again and again like waves that pretend to calm but never really stop coming. He could talk about it, but pride stops him. Pride tells him you're stronger now. Pride says she doesn't care, so neither should you. But deep down, he knows that's a lie he repeats just to get through the day. Because the truth is, he still cares. He still wonders if you think about him. He still checks his phone sometimes, hoping to see your name, only to remind himself that the silence has lasted too long. Healing in silence isn't the same as moving on. It's like trying to fix a shattered glass by holding the pieces tightly, pretending it's whole while cutting your hands in the process. He walks around with a calm face, but inside he's bleeding quietly. He's not healed. He's just hidden. And that's the kind of pain pride never lets you admit, the kind that turns peace into performance. He doesn't talk about it anymore, not because it doesn't hurt, but because admitting it would mean letting his walls fall again. And right now, his silence is the only armor he has left. He walks around like he's fine now, like the weight has lifted, like the past doesn't pull on his heart anymore. But the truth, letting go doesn't happen overnight. It's not something you wake up one morning and decide to do. It's something that breaks you slowly, piece by piece, until pretending becomes easier than holding on. He tells himself he's over it, that he's done thinking about what was lost. But every time he passes a familiar street, every time he hears a certain song, something inside him shifts quietly, painfully. Because memories don't vanish. They fade, yes, but they never disappear completely. They linger like the last note of a song that never really ends. Letting go looks peaceful from the outside, but inside it's war. It's fighting the urge to reach out, to check up, to ask how are you, even when you already know you shouldn't. It's deleting the messages but remembering every word. It's pretending you're okay when your heart still waits for a voice that isn't coming back. He hides it well, the longing, the nostalgia, the questions that never get answered. He's learned to smile through it, to talk about everything except the one thing that still keeps him awake. He doesn't show it anymore, not because it's gone, but because showing it means reopening a wound that never really healed. That's the hardest part about letting go. You don't stop caring. You just stop showing it. You bury it under new routines, new people, new distractions, hoping the ache dulls with time. But deep down, there's still that quiet space, that small, unspoken hope that maybe someday things could have been different. He carries it silently, the love, the loss, the lessons. On some nights, he still looks up at the ceiling and whispers to himself, "I'm fine." Not because he truly is, but because it's the only way to convince his heart to stop reaching for something that's no longer there. Letting go doesn't mean forgetting. It doesn't mean he stopped feeling. It just means he learned how to hide it better, how to walk with the pain without letting it show, how to smile without meaning it, and how to live with a goodbye that never really felt final. When something breaks inside a person, the world doesn't always see it the same way. Some people scream their pain out loud, post it in quotes, pour it into captions and stories hoping someone will read between the lines. Others, they vanish. They delete everything, go silent, pretend the world doesn't exist, because that's the only way they can breathe through the weight of what they lost. He chose silence, not because it hurts less, but because words can't describe what's left inside. There are no right sentences for the kind of emptiness that sits in the chest and refuses to move. So he disappeared not out of anger, not out of indifference, but because staying visible felt like being trapped in a world that no longer fit him. You might think he stopped caring, but disappearing is its own kind of grief. It's walking away from everything that reminds him of what once made him whole. It's erasing pieces of his life just to stop feeling the sting of memory. He scrolls through his gallery and deletes your photos one by one, but each one takes a little bit of him with it. And when he's done, the silence feels louder than ever. Some people heal by sharing, by showing the world that they're broken but trying. Others heal by hiding, by building walls so high that no one can see the mess behind them. He's not posting, not updating, not proving anything anymore, but that doesn't mean he's fine. It just means he's tired of being misunderstood. Grief isn't always dramatic. Sometimes it's quiet, routine, and invisible. It's in the way he pauses when your name comes up, in the way his laughter fades a second too soon, in the way his eyes lose focus when someone says something that reminds him of you. He might look like he's moved on, like he's comfortable in his silence, but every person who disappears is hiding a storm inside. A storm they've learned to carry quietly, gracefully, without letting the world see how much it still hurts. Some express, some escape, some talk, some vanish. But no matter how it looks, grief is still grief, and it lives in him quietly, constantly, like a song he can't turn off, no matter how hard he tries. There's a kind of laughter that doesn't sound like joy, it sounds like escape. It's the kind of laugh that rises quickly, too quickly, as if it's trying to cover something that might spill if it doesn't. He laughs now, maybe more than before, at jokes, at small talk, at moments that mean nothing. The people around him think he's fine. They think the laughter means he's healed. But if you listen closely, you can hear it, that small hesitation, that break in the rhythm where regret hides quietly, pretending to be okay. He doesn't talk about it, but regret has a way of speaking without words. It lives in the eyes when they smile, in the silence that follows laughter. Every joke is a distraction, every smile a mask, every burst of laughter a pause between thoughts he doesn't want to face. Because the truth is, he's not laughing at life, he's laughing away from it. Away from the memories, the moments he can't fix, the choices he can't undo. Sometimes, at night, when the laughter fades and the world goes still, regret creeps back in soft, heavy, familiar. It doesn't yell, it whispers. It reminds him of the words he didn't say, the apologies he never gave, the moments he took for granted. And no matter how many people surround him, no matter how loud the room gets, regret always finds a way to sit beside him, quiet but undeniable. It's strange how easily the world believes laughter. People see a smile and assume healing, but they never see what's behind it. They never notice how sometimes the eyes don't join in, how the smile fades just a second too soon, how he turns his face away as if hiding something sacred, something still hurting. Regret isn't always loud. It doesn't always show up in tears. Sometimes it hides behind humor, behind confidence, behind the image of a man who looks like he's moved on. But deep down, he knows the truth, that laughter is just another kind of silence, one that sounds louder, but still says nothing at all. And so, he keeps laughing, keeps smiling, keeps pretending, because facing regret would mean facing the part of himself that still wishes he'd done things differently. And maybe he's not ready for that yet. Maybe he never will be. There's a strange kind of strength in pretending. He's mastered it now, the calm voice, the steady walk, the smile that doesn't tremble. People see him and say he's moved on, that he's doing better, that he's finally over everything. But they don't see how often he pauses mid-sentence when a memory brushes past. They don't see how he still reaches for his phone sometimes out of habit, before pulling his hand back like he's touched fire. He carries it quietly. You can miss someone and still go to work every day, still laugh with friends, still say I'm okay. You can move through the motions of life while your heart stays somewhere else. Missing doesn't always look like tears. Sometimes it looks like deep breaths that last too long, or nights spent staring at the ceiling, waiting for the world to go silent enough to hear your own thoughts. He acts like he's fine because that's what everyone expects. Because after a while, people stop asking if you're okay, they just assume you are. So he plays along, he shows up, smiles, nods, laughs at the right moments. He's learned how to hide the cracks so well that even he almost believes the mask. But when the noise fades, when the room empties, when the phone goes quiet, that's when the truth slips through. That's when missing her stops being something he hides and starts being something he feels again, raw and heavy. He scrolls through songs he shouldn't listen to, rereads old texts he promised himself he'd delete, wonders if she ever has nights like his, the kind where memories won't sleep. And still he pretends, because pretending is easier than explaining a wound that never healed right. He tells himself that missing her doesn't mean he's weak, it just means he once felt something real. But no matter how steady his voice sounds, no matter how calm his smile appears, there's always that small pause, that single heartbeat of silence between words where the truth lives. He's fine, at least that's what he says. But somewhere between the laughter and the silence, between the good mornings and the long nights, he's still missing her quietly, endlessly, without saying a word. He doesn't talk the way he used to. The words come slower now, softer, like he's learned that not everything needs to be said. Pain taught him that. It taught him that silence holds more truth than most conversations ever will. He's not the same person he was before, not louder, not happier, just deeper. You can see it in the way he looks at people now, in the way he listens, in the way he doesn't rush to respond. Pain carved something out of him, something quiet, something real. They say time heals, but he knows better. Time doesn't heal, it hides. It covers wounds with routine, with distraction, with long days that blur into longer nights. But pain does the real work. It breaks you open, forces you to see who you are when everything else falls apart. It makes you grow in ways you never wanted to. He learned that forgiveness doesn't always mean reconciliation, and closure doesn't always arrive with a goodbye. He learned that some questions stay unanswered, some hearts stay unfinished, and that's okay. The version of him that once begged for understanding now just nods in silence. The one who once wanted to explain himself now just lets the world think what it wants. Because pain, real pain, teaches patience. It teaches you that not every wound needs to be seen, and not every story needs to be told. He carries that quiet kind of maturity, now the kind that doesn't shout, doesn't prove, doesn't chase. He looks calm on the outside, but inside there's a map of lessons written in scars. He knows what loss feels like, what distance does, what pride costs. He's learned to let people go without hating them, to love without expecting it back, to stand alone without collapsing. Pain made him wiser, but not colder. It made him understand that growing up isn't about years passing, it's about hearts breaking and still learning to love again. He walks through life slower now, not because he's tired, but because he finally understands the weight of things. The weight of words, of silence, of memories that never stop echoing. And though he doesn't say it out loud, though the world sees only the surface inside, he knows pain didn't destroy him, it shaped him. It stripped away who he thought he was, and left behind who he was always meant to be. He's still learning, still growing, still healing quietly, painfully, beautifully. And maybe that's what real maturity is, not moving on, but moving through. He wakes up every morning and tells himself, I'm fine. Not because he believes it, but because saying it is easier than feeling everything that still lives inside him. True strength, he's learned, isn't loud. It's not about shouting through pain or proving you've moved on. It's the quiet endurance, the way you hold yourself together when everything inside wants to fall apart. He still carries the ache, but he's learned how to wear it like armor. No one sees the effort behind the steady tone of his voice, the calm in his eyes. They think strength means being unbreakable, but he knows it's the opposite. It's breaking and still showing up. It's smiling through the weight pressing on your chest, making small talk while your heart feels like it's splintering. It's listening to the same song that once meant everything and pretending it's just background noise now. He's not numb, he's practiced. He's practiced breathing through the moments that once took his breath away. He's practiced silence in place of explanation, composure instead of confession. Every day is an act of balance between who he used to be and who he's trying to become. And though he doesn't say it out loud, each "I'm good" costs him a little more energy, a little more truth. Strength isn't about not crying. It's about crying when no one's watching, wiping the tears and walking out the door as if nothing ever happened. It's answering "How are you?" with "I'm fine," even when every part of you wants to say "I'm not." It's holding the memories gently, not because they don't hurt, but because they still matter. He doesn't post about his pain anymore. He doesn't seek comfort in sympathy. He's stopped trying to make people understand, because real strength isn't built in the noise of attention, it's built in the quiet. When you're alone with your thoughts, teaching your heart how to beat again despite the cracks. He sits with the ache sometimes, not fighting it, not denying it. He just lets it breathe beside him like an old friend he's finally learned to live with. Because pretending doesn't mean forgetting, it means surviving. It means giving yourself permission to carry the hurt without letting it define you. He's not healed, not yet. But every morning he gets up, faces the world, and chooses to keep moving. That's strength. The kind no one claps for, the kind no one sees, but the kind that keeps him alive. The world loves to label endings, to call them failures, betrayals, losses. But not every ending is born from anger. Sometimes two people walk away still loving each other, still carrying pieces of one another quietly inside, but knowing that love alone isn't enough to fix what's already broken. Sometimes love stays, just not in the same way. He doesn't hate her, he never did, even after the silence grew heavy, even after the messages stopped, even after the distance became permanent. Hate never found a home in him. What stayed instead was softer, the memories, the gratitude, the ache of something once beautiful that time couldn't save. He remembers the laughter, the late night talks, the small things that no one else would understand. And though it hurts to remember, he refuses to let those moments turn bitter. Because maybe real love doesn't end with anger, maybe it ends with acceptance, with quiet understanding, with knowing that sometimes people have to grow apart to grow at all. That sometimes holding on too tightly only hurts more than letting go ever could. He still thinks of her, not every day, not constantly, but in flashes that come without warning. A song, a smell, a place, and suddenly she's there again, not as someone to return to, but as someone he once shared a life with. There's no resentment in those moments, no bitterness, just a kind of peace wrapped in sadness. Because love doesn't always disappear, sometimes it just changes shape. It becomes distance. It becomes silence. It becomes a memory you protect instead of a person you chase. He doesn't reach out anymore, but he wishes her well in the quiet of his mind. He prays she's okay, that she's found what she was looking for even if it wasn't him. That's the kind of love that doesn't need to be seen or returned. It just exists quietly, endlessly, like a candle that never goes out even in the dark. Not every ending needs a villain. Sometimes it's just two souls who met at the wrong time, two hearts that tried but couldn't stay. And though it hurts, he's learned to carry it gently, not as a wound, but as a reminder that he once loved deeply enough to feel this much. So he stays silent now, not because there's nothing left to say, but because some love stories don't need words anymore. They just live unspoken, unfinished, eternal. Maybe that's what love really is, not the forever we dream about, but the feeling that never truly leaves even when everything else does. He looks happy without you, yes. He laughs, he lives, he moves on at least. That's what the world sees. But every night, when the lights go out and the noise disappears, the truth returns. The kind of truth that hides in quiet spaces, the kind that doesn't fade with time. He still thinks about what was, not with regret, not with sadness, but with a strange kind of peace. Because not every love is meant to last. Some are meant to teach. Some are meant to change us, and some are meant to stay not beside us, but within us. So if you ever wonder whether he forgot, he didn't. He just learned how to live with the missing. He just learned that healing doesn't mean erasing. It means remembering without breaking. He looks happy without you. But deep down, every single night, in the silence between heartbeats, he still loves you, quietly, endlessly, in ways no one will ever see.